welcome back to the channel. A few weeks ago I mentioned that we might have a guest, and lo and behold today we have our forester, Neil Damon. Neil's employee of the Southern New Brunswick Forest Products Marketing Board. Today Neil would like to talk about alternative treatment, with the whole idea that you don't have to go out and clear cut your property, that there are other more civilized, ecologically friendlier ways of managing your property. I'll turn it over to Neil.
All right, thanks, Mike. As Mike said, my name's Neil Damon, and I work for SMB Marketing Board here in the southern part of New Brunswick. Yeah, we're standing here in a stand that we helped Mike treat back in 2016, correct, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was done 5 years ago. I'm not sure how well you can see the stand, but you can see that there is a lot of trees still standing. Yeah. I think at the time we removed 30% of the volume in this area, including the trails. So we did a harvester, completed this treatment, a small enviro harvester, and basically the trails were ribboned prior to the treatment being completed to guide the harvester on where to go.
Yeah.
Keep them out of wet areas and to uniformly space the removal across the area. And with his machine, he could reach in 9 meters on either side. So the trail spacing was important to ensure that he could reach in and treat the entire leaf strip. So as you can see, it's been 6 years and it's starting to fill in, and you can see some diversity here. We have some white birch, some red maple, yellow birch. Right beside me we have a cedar tree. And I think overall, I think we removed maybe 10 cords to the acre out of this area. So we did remove a significant amount of volume, I think a couple hundred cords. So I think this area was 20 acres in size.
Just over, I think,
Yeah.
264 cord were removed.
Okay, yeah.
Read the management report. 54% of what was taken out was pulp.
Okay. That must have been hardwood pulp and softwood pulp.
Yeah, would have been.
Yeah.
Had to been.
Yeah.
Less than 10% was saw material, meaning what, 8 inches or larger?
Yeah.
Typically.
So
there was virtually very little larger trees cut, and studwood was over 40%.
Yeah.
And studwood is basically that size material that you can cut into 2x4, 2x6. So it's relatively small sized, and again, it was mostly almost all fir and white birch.
Yeah. Yeah, looking around, you can see some stumps, some softwood stumps. I think that primarily balsam fir was removed in the studwood size. And as you can see, I mean, the vertical structure here is still maintained, which is going to allow natural regeneration to occur. I mean, looking down at my feet, I see a lot of fir regen coming. Ideally for Mike's and Debbie's objectives with climate change and that type of thing in mind, ideally we'll see more red maple regen. Yeah, and I think it all depends where you walk. I think if we continued to walk through this area, we would see more red maple regen. There's a red maple there. And
It'll be right behind fir in terms of the regen that's on the ground.
Yeah, so I mean the objective of a treatment like this is to encourage natural regen, reduce the requirement for planting, promote climate change species, like your red maples. We got cedar here. We got some yellow birch, and there's some oak up. There's a couple oak over there on the hill. Hopefully, some of that will seed in.
Yep.
Maybe with the help of yourself and Debbie for broadcast, seed in some oak acorns in this area to try to promote some oak regen.
If we could have gotten it, we were planning on planting about 1,000 white pine this year, but
Yeah.
unfortunately they weren't available.
Yeah.
So when you talk about vertical structure,
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that's just me saying that there's still
a canopy,
a canopy here. Yeah.
a
exactly.
cover over.
A cover. Yeah. Exactly. So I mean, with a or crown closure, I guess, if you want to get more specific. So there's still a percent of crown closure here. So that's important to nurse certain species up naturally that maybe are shade tolerant. As opposed to if we did clear cut this area, you'd be more prone to get early successional pioneer species, the trees that thrive off of sunlight, such as like fir, but raspberries, pin cherries, white birch. We have a lot of birch in this area. I would suspect that this area would have come back and heavy the birch and fir. So right now we're 6 years from when we completed the treatment in here, and we still have a healthy forest. We're working on developing a healthy regeneration layer to really provide owners with multiple options for down the road, as opposed to just even age management, which could be less diverse and less options for future management. I guess.
Yeah.
So if you want to hedge your bets for climate change,
yeah,
you're better off doing this kind of selective cutting.
I think so. Yeah, exactly. It gives an owner more options. So diversity, multiple age classes, ultimately provide the owner with more options for down the road with insects, disease, climate change, markets as well, that type of thing. That being said, I mean, clear cutting, there's still a place for clear cutting depending on the landowner's objectives and depending on what you have as, to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, any management plan for private woodlot owners it's really dependent on the owner's objectives and tailoring that plan to the owner.
Yeah.
I think what we find though is what often happens is it's not the current owner, it's the landowner dies and children inherit and they don't know what their options are.
Yeah, exactly.
The only thing they know of is clear cutting in order to get sufficient money to pay off whatever bills or.
Yep, exactly. And you make a really good point there, Debbie. Like owners' objectives do change over time with ownership, and it comes down to education as well. And I think it's very important for all owners to be educated, make informed decisions prior to implementing any treatments on their property. It's always good to get other advice from different professionals before making a decision, because oftentimes, unfortunately, I land at people's woodlots after the fact, and
Yep.
Not a whole lot you can do.
and there's not a whole lot to do at that time. So I mean, I think we first met back in 2011 or 2012 when I did the first management plan for you guys.
Well, the first management plan was dated June of 2012.
June of 2012, yeah. And I think it was 3 or 4 years until anything is completed any work, or we did the road work on the property maybe in 20.
That was done the year before.
Year before
No, the road was in for probably 2 years before we did the harvest.
Oh, was it the
And
bridge?
The bridge was in
The year before.
a year before before the road was extended.
Yeah.
Around 2013, I would guess, that we put in the bridge. The road extension to commercialize the road and give us the access for trucks and so on was, I think, 2014.
The year before the harvest.
Because I had about 2 years to do the fine work of getting the road tuned and kind of banked and ditched and all those things before the trucks actually came onto the property.
Yeah, and that's really important as well, is to have your road, which doesn't always necessarily happen on private, to have your roads built prior to the trucks, the traffic, that type of thing. A year or so for the road to settle and that type of thing is very important once you start moving wood on a fresh road. Sometimes you get into more expenses than necessary. Yeah.
Well, certainly, if the objective of the woodlot owner is to maximize the money from their property, without an extremely long-term view, cutting hard, whether it's a clear cut or a high grade, is the way to maximize your dollars
Short term.
Yeah. You are definitely degrading your woodlot, because I know it was a Forest Connect video, which is New York State, and something like over 50% of all properties, woodlots that had been high graded a second time, the regen and the quality of what was there had been seriously degraded.
Yeah, exactly. And when you do a intensive harvest like that, landowners need to reinvest back in, whether it's planting or they leave it develop naturally. I guess so there are extra costs after the fact to reforest. Whereas here, we didn't invest any money into planting.
We came through and did a bit ourselves, hand planting.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I see this woodlot as a working woodlot where every 10 to 15 years, depending on the landowner's objectives, you do have the opportunity to perform a commercial harvest to continue that revenue, to continue managing your property sustainable, long-term, promote health, productivity, and really achieve your objectives as a landowner.
Yeah.
You still have a woodlot that you can enjoy with the family. There's other values as well. It's not just timber values. We have environmental, social, recreational, climate change, other opportunities down the road, like carbon sequestration, that type of thing. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I think there's different options for private woodlot owners when it comes to management, and education is a key component to that.
But ultimately, you know, and this is only my own political view, by sustainably managing our woodlots, owners sacrifice income in order to ensure society has cleaner water, that carbon is being stored more efficiently, that air is cleaner because the trees are sucking out pollution from it, right? And ultimately, it's society benefits as a whole from people who successfully properly manage their woodlots, and yet nobody's compensating the owners for what they're giving up, because there is a cost to doing small harvests and you don't make as much money. And somewhere along the line, society they really value these things, is going to have to put some money into supporting this kind of responsible ownership.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, at the end of the day, there is an economic side of things for the harvester, contractor, or producer to come to a woodlot like this. They have floating expenses. They have an expense to cut the wood. They have an expense to bring that wood to the road, and then there's another expense to truck that to the mill. And then there's the stumpage equation where they pay owners like yourself stumpage to buy the standing trees to market those to the wood or to the mill. So the whole supply chain, everybody in the supply chain needs to make money,
right,
in order to implement treatments like this. And you're typically, from a wood producer perspective, you're cutting less wood, and you may be less efficient. So you do need to. There has to be an economic component there to facilitate treatments like this. Like you say, if as a society we want to promote this type of
right,
treatment.
yeah.
So, the landowner's happy. The landowner is ultimately the boss of the woodlot.
Yep.
And every landowner on private has different objectives. And so as long as the landowner's happy, you get what you want, and you meet your objectives. I guess in summary, there's education, knowledge are very important components to forest management and informed decisions. And as a landowner, there are options. Alternative treatments like this are an option for landowners. They do come with financial implications. I mean, your stumpage that you receive as a landowner may not be as high today, but over time, you will have the opportunity to continue harvest it every 10 to 15 years. You're still going to have a forest. You can still maintain other objectives as a landowner, which, as we all can appreciate, many owners do live on your properties, and they're connected with the property, and they may use the woodlot for other activities like recreation. I've mentioned all those activities earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It may be an idea for a future video if people think there's non-timber forest products too, which is something I think people deserve to be made aware of in terms of
the hobbyist. I mean, I tap 20 trees on my property, and I have 4 kids, and we fill the fridge with maple syrup every year, and kids enjoy using it. Yep. I guess that kind of summarizes everything in a nutshell. I mean, a management plan is an important component to any private woodlot owner. Professionals can tailor that management plan to the owner to meet their objectives. And then once the management plan is in place, the landowner understands what they have on their property, where it is, what the priorities are, and really what their options are. And then it comes down to making it happen.
Well, so if somebody comes knocking on your door saying you can make all these dollars off of letting me cut your woodlot, the first thing they should do is pick up their phone and call you.
Well, I don't know, not necessarily me, but they can call me.
Somebody who can give them an unbiased opinion.
That's right.
On what their options are, that's not the only thing that they can do with their woodlot.
That's right. That's right. Yep. Yeah. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah. No, first of all, thanks for watching, folks. We are planning on trying to do some more videos with Neil. So please comment, if there's anything in particular you would like to see, have covered. My thoughts are, you know, if you're serious about managing your woodlot, you certainly need to work with a professional, but also you have a responsibility to be a responsible woodlot owner, to do some of your own education, and because you need to take some responsibility for what's going on and not just rely on your forester.
It is your woodlot.
It is your woodlot. Anyhow, thanks for watching. We'll see you again, and take care, be safe, and all those good things.
Catch you next time, guys.